If you're considering leaving Canada, here's my advice. Do it. We left in January 2021, and now I look at Canada and Canadians from a distance, and I'm like, girl, bye.
People are waking up in Canada. They're realizing how badly we're getting screwed here when it comes to finances, cost of living, housing crisis, and basically being trapped in a country that has winter where you can't really do much outside for 6 months of the entire year. And even worse if you're living more in northern Canada. So people are starting to wake up and realize that it's just going to get worse. And we have a bunch of content to go over here today. First, starting off with a prophetic warning about Canada. What's to come? Let's find out.
The Lord gave me 2 warning dreams about Canada. And the 2 dreams had the same theme to them. They were very, very vivid, first of all. And the dreams were about Canada having less and less freedom and more control. What I saw was very concerning. I'm not going to say scary, because when you're walking with the Lord, and if the Lord has a specific mission or purpose for you in Canada, He's got your back. There's nothing to fear. But personally, the Lord has been putting it on my heart to leave Canada. Now, before I reveal the details of these warning dreams, I need the Lord's confirmation that this was for Canada as a whole and not just a message for me about Canada. However, we've seen what the Canadian government is capable of doing. We've seen that they do not respect people's freedom. We've seen what they're capable of 2020, 2021. I hope people never forget that. And people think it's over, but what I see for the future in Canada is even more control. Now, everybody's been complaining about the cost of living in Canada because it became insanely expensive. And in my opinion, Canada is too cold and too basic to be that expensive, okay? It's not like you're living in a luxury villa by the beach and you're getting something out of it, no. You're paying like insanely high taxes and insanely high cost of living. And in return, you have, the free quote unquote healthcare. That's not really free because you pay a lot for that healthcare. But that's besides the point. So as soon as I get the confirmation from the Lord, I will be sharing the details of those dreams. So stay tuned for that. But my message for you today is, if the Lord has been putting it on your heart to leave Canada, please listen to it. There is a very good reason for that.
Now, maybe we'll do an update later on if she puts out another video, but I do believe that she has some very valid points about Canada. And like I was saying before, you don't really get a lot out of living in Canada. I'm a proud Canadian. I'm a very proud Canadian, being grown up in Ontario as well, with the nation's capital right there. I had beautiful summers, beautiful winters growing up, but honestly, as I get older, I do realize that there's a lot of hindrances to living in Canada. Like, the winter is brutal. Like, the older I get, the less I like winter, and I assume it's going to get worse as I age each year. So when I hit my 40s, I'm sure that I'll really hate winter. But here's an interesting concept. This individual is realizing that, the more you spend on these insane prices, the more companies will likely raise those prices. So what do you guys think about no spend 2025? Let me know down below.
I hate to be the one to say this, but the reason that the cost of living is so high, and the reason that regular household items and groceries continue to increase, is because we don't know how to stop purchasing things. We don't know how to say no. We don't have self-control. Like, if I think about history and why in the history books people actually got like a little bit of change, it's because they had some sort of resistance, some sort of self-control. We literally buy. Amazon, TikTok, freaking Target, Fashion Nova, Shein, whatever the case may be. All of these stores always gets orders just coming in and out. At what point do we say no? At what point do we fight back? Because the reality of it is, the government is looking at us like, okay, they're never going to stop, so why would we decrease the price on anything? Y'all need to just make some more money and fend for yourselves. But no, everybody has to have the latest everything. I don't know. But coming into the new year, January 2025, I will not be purchasing anything that is not necessary. And I say this, and I'm holding myself to it, because I am tired of eating my money. I am tired of wearing my money. It needs to go somewhere else. Who's with me?
Yeah, she's 100% right. Like, when you see a company raise the price of a product, or that goes for shrinkflation as well. If you see a company doing shady practices like that, where you're getting less and you're spending more for something, say no. Vote with your dollar. It might not work all the time, but I think in some circumstances, in some cases, it can work. And she makes a really good point, and I 100% agree with her. So let me know your thoughts about that down below in the comment section, because I do think there's what she's saying is very valid. So very good thoughts, good thought experiment right there, and it's something that I probably am going to consider as well in 2025.
How are we expecting people to rent when they have to pay first and last month's rent plus a security deposit? I have a family member, he's not on this app, and he is trying to get into an apartment complex, big corporate-owned apartment complex here in Tampa. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 800 square feet, $1,600 a month. They have horrible reviews on Google. Not a great part of town, but it's what he can afford right now, and he knows it's a temporary thing. So he asked me if I'd be willing to co-sign on this apartment, because this apartment complex is asking for first and last month's rent plus a large security deposit. And I said, no problem. I'd rather you take that money that you would normally have to apply towards the application process to get moved in, and instead focus on buying yourself groceries when you get moved in and having the funds to set up your utilities and all the things. And I went ahead and submitted all the documents that they asked of me, which was 3 months worth of bank statements, our 2023 tax return, as well as copies of contracts and payments made from my clients, because I'm a 1099 employee, to show them that basically if for some reason he weren't able to pay his rent, it would default to me, and including my social security number, so they'd come after me. No problem. I trust this family member wholeheartedly and have no issue doing that. So I submitted all those documents, and they called him today. And yes, they are still asking for first and last month's rent, and they are still requesting a security deposit. They lowered it. But let me just set the stage here. $1,600 a month is the rent. I provided them documentation to show that one of my clients, just one client that pays me in a month, would cover over 12 months of his rent. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying this because this is the level of absurdity we have reached. You have someone that's co-signing to ensure that that apartment is paid for, that has proof, documentation, proof of funds to show that just one of my payments from one of my clients in a month that I provided a contract to show would cover his rent for the entire year. And yet that's not good enough to waive a security deposit or still make him pay first and last month's rent. What are we doing? Why are we making Gen Z not be able to have a place to live? This is absurd. I don't understand why somebody needs to be making over $1 million to show that you could waive the security deposit and not make them pay last month's rent. I essentially showed them collectively that my husband and I make, I'm not going to say how much it is, but it's absurd. Because if he doesn't have a co-signer, how do people move into those places then? I don't get it. I don't understand what we're doing to this generation. Then I see a news report that mortgage rates are climbing back up again, 5-month high, 6.85%. I ain't buying in that market unless I can pay cash. So we rent. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that for us. But I'm also 20 years older. And I've already lived, this is stupid at this point. I guess, what is that generation supposed to do if you don't have somebody co-signing for you? How do you expect them to come up with that type of cash for $1,600 a month rent? I don't understand what we're doing here. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of hoops they have to go through to rent a place, especially buy a place. My God, I remember when I had to rent places in Toronto, the amount of hoops that I would have to go through, the amount of information you have to give someone, and it's not even a commercial real estate. If you're renting a basement apartment or something like that, they're getting your social insurance number, they're looking at your bank statements, they're looking at basically your T4 or whatever document you could show that you're employed, so an employment letter. Oh my God, they're looking at your pay stubs. All of this just to prove that you have a job and that you're able to pay. And sometimes that's not even enough. They want to see you have like $20,000+ in your account, just in case if you lose your job, you can still pay rent for like the next 7 months or something like that, right? It's unbelievable the hoops that you have to go through. And then don't even get me started on buying a property. That is even crazier. You have to go through so many hoops just to get anything.
Watch me do my nails while I tell you why we're leaving Canada after 6 years of living here. So a little quick background, I'm from a small and poor country in Europe called Moldova, so I'm both Moldovan and Romanian. Long story, look it up if you want, it's a whole thing. We moved to Canada in 2018 and we went through the Express Entry program, which is basically a massive filter of candidates from the entire world, and based on your age, marital status, education, work experience, language proficiency, blah, 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 you get invited to apply for permanent residency, which we did and we got it. So we went through the whole process. It took us about 9 months. We chose Vancouver, BC because we spoke English and the climate is amazing. And it is one of the most beautiful cities out there. So we were absolutely thrilled and thought we made the best decision of our lives. We both got jobs right away. We lived downtown Vancouver. We made friends. We had a social life. Life was good for about 2-3 years. Then you know who hit in 2020 and things started to change. And I don't mind change. I actually love it. It keeps me on my toes. However, this change I couldn't really control. It was getting out of hand. However, both my husband and I stayed employed full-time, so that was good, and I'm really grateful for that. We thought this was going to be like a few-month thing, and it turned into almost 2 full-blown years. Yeah. That's when we noticed the country and the city started going through some real change, and not really for the best. The city was dirtier, prices on everything were increasing, rent went up astronomically. The homeless population increased dramatically. It became impossible to get a doctor's appointment. People were like angrier, more sad, more vicious. I worked in a restaurant, so trust me, I know. Tourism basically stopped and we didn't really have a social life anymore. And the most important part was that we could not see our family for about 4 years. I guess my point is the Vancouver that we moved to no longer existed, and we didn't really know how long it would take for it to get back to where it was, or if it would ever go back to where it was. So after finally going home to visit our family in 2023, we realized how much we missed Europe, our families, our friends. So since we were just basically surviving here at that point, we did a little math and we figured that the amount of money we pay for rent here for a year would cover a beautiful life in Europe, and we would be closer to our friends and family. So I quit my full-time job and I started learning a digital skill, specifically SEO, and now I work from home. So we are now selling everything and we're going to be traveling for a year and then we'll move to Europe, I think Spain. No idea if this is actually going to work, but I'll just be documenting everything, so I guess follow along.
And if you can move to Spain, Spain is a beautiful place. And if the cost of living is right, why not be in a place that has good weather, like I was saying earlier, versus Canada, even though Canada, Vancouver, of course, is the best weather, quote unquote, weather, even though it's raining quite a lot during the summer, even in the wintertime is also very depressing. And that seems to be a big thing in Canada right now. She wasn't wrong about saying that it definitely felt more hostile in Vancouver and a lot of places in Canada when the cost of living is going up. And if you're working in like a service industry, you probably have more firsthand experience because you're dealing with more people, customers on a regular basis. So you get to have a more, your finger is kind of more on the pulse there to kind of really see how people are reacting in society. So it really is probably a smart move, to be honest. If I could probably move out of Canada, to be honest. I love Canada, but my God, the cost of living and just the winters and stuff is really daunting at this point. And this individual also agrees.
You know why I've started to love the month of January, even as a Canadian? Because I live in Malaysia. And my kids can bike ride year round.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing as well. In Toronto, what used to drive me insane is, especially during the pandemic, they made all these bike lanes. And hey, I love biking too. I use a lot of those bike lanes as well in the summertime when I was biking. But what is going on? In the wintertime, you have 6 months of winter when you can't really bike. Maybe the odd day here or there, like the weather's okay during the wintertime that you can bike. But why would you like restructure an entire city to have more bikes when literally you have half the year where you can't do anything? Make that make sense. Doesn't make any sense. Bad leadership as well is another reason why people are leaving Canada.
If you're considering leaving Canada, here's my advice. Do it. We left in January 2021, and now I look at Canada and Canadians from a distance, and I'm like, girl, bye. As soon as you leave, your life changes. No more seasonal depression, no more paying for parking, no more $10 lettuce, no more winter coats, no more slush on my boots, no more fucking traffic, no overpriced cocktails, no one stabbing me on the street, no subways, no more angry and depressed people everywhere. Instead, I am 10 minutes from the beach. I live in a 2-story loft for half the price I paid in Toronto, with a private rooftop, a pool, a gym. I can go outside every damn day of the year. And your girl has a tan year-round. Wow. Happiness level 10, bestie. I feel bad now for everybody stuck there. Period.
I'm wondering where she's living now, though. Like half the price of Toronto. I'm trying to think of like Miami, maybe somewhere in the States, but I don't know about that. I think Miami would be more than half the price. But it could be places like Costa Rica, right? There's a lot of people who have second properties, like wealthy people who have second properties in South America and Central America because, you know, again, the weather is great and stuff like that. And really, there is one thing that is great about Canada, and that's if you like being outdoors in the winter, you know, skating, hockey. Also, Christmas can be very beautiful. Sometimes you don't really have a white Christmas, but Christmas can be very beautiful in Canada. So if you really like Christmas, that's maybe a bonus. But again, Christmas is more for kids. So once you grow up and you're older and then you just see winter and Christmas as shoveling snow and nothing really else after that, and maybe it is time to move to a place with beautiful weather, right? Then maybe it is time to move to a place with beautiful weather. So let's take a look at this very last video.
So this morning, my wife and I, we decided we're leaving Canada. We're done. This is just not for us anymore. The more people I talk to, the more people are having the same thoughts. They're looking to get out of here. We're going to apply to Argentina, Colombia, Panama. Stay tuned. Follow our journey.
Just wait though until a lot of people find out the exit tax. Shh. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty brutal, especially for people if there's, you know, unrealized capital gains and all that. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts about this video down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts also about leaving Canada. Are you someone who is curious about it? Is that why you clicked on this video, or are you just kind of wanting to get your finger on the pulse about how Canadians are looking at the future of Canada right now? Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.